would share on my YouTube channel. I think, you know, I'm thinking of popping on every couple of days and just sharing some cute, quick little tips and tricks that I've been working on. So I don't know if you can see these cute little houses, which I got in the dollar spot at Target. They're so cute. And I've seen stuff like that over the years. And then I started playing with my watercolors this morning and just making houses because they got me thinking. And they're so fun. They're just so cool. And I'm using a Uniball Signo to kind of add some doodly details. The other kind of pen I was thinking of trying is a micron, because you can do the same kind of designs, but, you know, change it up depending on your needs. I kind of personally like the white Uniball pens just because I think it works better. But again, you know, depending on your needs, it could be really fun to do different kinds of things with your doodles or details depending on what look you're going for. You know, I really don't know what I'm going to use these for, if this is just me practicing or if I'm going to cut them out and use them for future use. But I mean, that looks kind of fun too, right? So I'll show you what how I've been making it. I mean, you know, it's pretty straightforward, right? And I messed this one up, so I'll show you how to fix up your mess ups too. But I'm just using a flat brush, and I've got I have two sets of watercolors. This one is from a company, Ooly, O-O-L-Y. They really make stuff for children, but I love their art supplies anyway. Their stuff is really awesome. Their stuff is really fun. And I loved some of the colors on this set. And then my boyfriend got me a set of Centennial, that really fancy watercolor set that's really pricey. So he got me one of those, and that's kind of what's in here. It's kind of half and half. I also have some Lucas, L-U-K-A-S watercolors, but it doesn't really matter. You could use really anything. But I'm starting with a gray base. So, and I'm making them different sizes. So if you really haven't worked in watercolor before, I highly recommend it. It can be intimidating because a lot of watercolor artists out there are doing such amazing things. So I feel like watercolors give you so many different effects. I have a friend who is just an incredible watercolor artist. He does paintings that look like photographs. So I mean, they're pretty amazing. But I also like them for beginners because watercolors can make you look better than you are because of the way they kind of fade and dry and leave these really wonderful watermarks. To me, that looks really kind of, how do I say, professional, or just really nice. But you know, I can get that effect being an amateur with watercolors. So you know, I took gray and then I came back in with another color, and the key is to kind of keep everything inside really wet, so you get a lot of bleeding, a lot of blending, and then when it dries, you just don't know. And that's the other thing. Some people got uncomfortable with predictability, but I kind of like it because then you're not making all the decisions and it can come out really well. This is actually just cheap Artist Loft watercolor paper. I'm not even using anything super pricey. So now I'm gonna try and fix this. So the cool thing about watercolors as opposed to acrylics, You can, you know, I mean, if you're not doing something precise, which this certainly is not, you can come back in and reactivate the watercolors. So what I'm doing is I'm wetting my brush and I'm coming back in with just some water first to kind of rebuild my edges and reactivating. So I'm loosening up the dried watercolor on the surface and leaving a new place for me to add some color and definition to my house. So, you know, you're reactivating it. You may see some of the previous lines when it dries. It's not a, the idea is if you just re-wet the whole thing, when it dries, it will look fairly intentional. It will look fairly original as opposed to having it be re-wet. And because we're using these houses to go back in and doodle with, it doesn't really matter too much if you've got an extra little like watermark, you know. And it's fun to experiment with the other colors to really, I mean, all you're doing is just playing with the blending in different colors, and it just looks so masterful. But really, I mean, I am no master. I am an amateur, but it just comes out so cool, right? So I'm gonna try and do one more. I might need to move my inspiration there. So, oh, and I almost just put my paintbrush in my tea. Always keep your drinks away from your paint water. So again, I'm just using, you know, a significant amount of water so that it doesn't dry too quickly. Because watercolor, it's funny, the actual surface of watercolor paper when you're painting dries very quickly. But because water paper is so thick, the layers underneath take a lot longer to dry. So that means you kind of want to load the top up with lots of water so that you have that extra water in there to play with for blending. But it also means that you're really going to have a significantly longer drying time for coming back in and adding any details with pen or like a gel pen. Ultimately, the Signal White is a gel pen. But these really won't work on a surface unless they're almost 100% dry. They certainly won't look proper. And you can see this is still quite wet. I did these not too long before I started the video. These ones, maybe 20 minutes ago. So we can go in and try and see. And I'm really using these windows. I also thought the windows were kind of cool. So I'm going by the actual houses for window placement, which it has been helpful because, you know, I still kind of make houses the way I made it when I was a child. I don't really want these to look like the houses I made when I was a child. I'm just eyeballing it as well, and I find that I do tend to run into trouble when I do that, but you know, it's not perfectly measured out and a little wonky. But again, that kind of adds to the charm of the actual piece. And again, like, where you stop doodling is up to you. It could be fun to go in and add some other doodles on the houses. You know, you can add some lines and dots on them if you want. You know, you can really play with these once you get started. just another thought. So, oh wow. And note to self, when you go to work on ones above, make sure that the ones underneath are dry, because you will get some smearing. This isn't going to bother me too much because I really think I'm gonna, I can't believe I just did that. I really think I'm going to be cutting these out, so it really won't matter in the grand scheme of things, as long as my edges are. So if I do go to cut these out, I do want kind of a fine line around my cutting, but I can come through with like a white paint pen and clean that up if I need to. And again, it's kind of cool how if you make mistakes, you can just go in and kind of reactivate everything, especially if you had just done it. So I'm just reactivating my paint there, cleaning up my palm smear, and when it dries fully, I can go in here and clean this up with some white paint pen and it'll be good to go. So anyway, a quick little fun project. If you try it, tag me. I'd love to see what you do. Thanks, guys.